Good afternoon, everyone. Today, it's just going to be me today. Melinda has scheduling conflict. I'm going to wait one more minute before we start, and then we'll head on in to the Form 3508S, new simplified form, just released last Thursday, about 5 o'clock. So we just missed our last webinar last week about it, but we'll get started in just a minute. Okay. So like I said, today we're going to go over Form 3508S, and we're going to go over a couple key important details that came up from the interim final rules that were released last week. These may have some impact to you, so I want to bring them to your attention. Okay, so today we'll go over the new form. We're going to do a quick comparison of all three forms and when you might want to use one over the other. I'll show you the new interim final rules that are important. We'll go over a few words of caution, and then we'll have time for anybody if they have any questions. Okay, so the new loan, the new form, it's only for loans that are under $50,000. And instead of actually writing out the numbers, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be attesting to them. So you still have to calculate them. You still have to keep track of them. You still have to do everything else. You still have to, but now instead of writing out, okay, employee Jane Smith, she earned $10,000 and she had 20% reduction in hours, you're not doing that anymore. You're saying I received $10,000 and I spent $10,000 on payroll or $10,000 on covered expenses. It's in the proper category. I'm good to go. The spending rules haven't changed. You're still owner employee compensation is still capped at $15,385 or $20,833 depending on your covered period. Everyone else is still capped at $100,000 annualized. So that would be the $15,385 for an 8-week covered period. I believe it comes out to almost 40, a little over 40,000, or about 46,000 for a 24-week covered period. The 60-40 spending ratio and the covered and the spending periods are still the same. What's really important about this is there's no reduction in forgiveness for reducing full-time equivalents or salary and wages. So right now, if you reduce your FTEs or you reduce your salary and wages and you have a $10,000 loan, part of that loan is going to lose forgiveness. I think if you reduce FTEs, it's going to impact the entire loan forgiveness, whereas right now it doesn't matter. If you reduce salaries and wages, it reduces the amount of payroll that's forgiven, which then could reduce your total forgiveness if you don't have enough or your ratios are out of whack. The EIDL information is still asked for on the new form. So when this thing first came out, a lot of people were talking about, oh, you know, EIDL is also going to be fully forgiven. Doesn't matter what you received. That's not what we've heard. It's EIDL information is still asked for on the form. It is still required to be reported. You probably will not get that. You know, if you got the $10,000 EIDL and you got $10,000 of PPP money, you know, you shouldn't expect your EIDL, your PPP loan to be forgiven because it's that EIDL issue that we've talked about before. If you have any questions, send me an email. I can definitely discuss further, but it is still asked for, still probably will impact your forgivable amount. You still need to give your documents to the bank to prove that eligible expenses were paid. These are your payroll, third-party payroll slips, your bank statements, your canceled checks, Form 941s, everything like that. That all still will need to be given out with the new form. It's again, just that you don't have to do the calculation. You just have to say, yeah, I spent the money. It's a lot less. It's more attestation than it is calculation. So your forgiveness, it's still not automatic, it's still not guaranteed. As we'll discuss, this is just considered a de minimis amount that the SBA really just has decided they're not going to take that much. They're going to try to speed up these loans because they've got other fish to fry. And just a word of the wise, supplying them with false information, it can result in $1,255,000 in fines and up to 37 years in prison. So it's, make sure you're actually doing this. Don't just say, oh, I just signed my name on that line and I'm going to get everything forgiven. Double check, please. This is kind of, let's not test out the waters or the legal system here. So here's our quick little summary that in comparison. And I know it's small, so I do apologize. So Form 3508S, that's the top row. And it's for so who qualifies for it? It's borrowers of less than $50,000. And it talks about $2 million. That's if you are in an affiliated group. So most people that does not apply to, but so if your individual PPP loan was less than 50,000 and your affiliated group received less than $2 million, you qualify for Form 3508S. It is a 2-page document. You don't have to worry about reductions for FTEs or wages and salary. You do not have to fill out Schedule A. You have to calculate it on your own, and you only need to bring in the documentation. The bank is supposed to do the rest. The traditional form, everybody qualifies to use it. You must calculate your FTEs and your wage reduction to see if you have to reduce your forgivable amount. You do have to complete Schedule A. The calculation is done on the form. It's done backwards, so you have to work from page 4, I believe, to page 3 to page 1, but it does kind of walk you through it. And you do have to attach the same additional documentation. Form 3508EZ, the only people that qualified are people that are self-employed and they only took money from themselves. Someone who can attest that they did not reduce salaries, wages, anything like that, and that they were open during this time, or people that didn't reduce salaries, wages, or FTEs, but were unable to open. So that would be like if a movie theater, which would have been closed down due to government health orders, let's say they kept on their entire staff at full pay, that's where they would qualify. So the easy form can't be used if you reduce your FTEs or you reduce your salaries and wages by more than 25%. So that's kind of where it's saying, like, oh, you don't need to worry about it. You do need to worry about it, but because if you do that, then you have to use the traditional form, not the easy form. You don't have to do a Schedule A worksheet on the easy form, but you do have to have it done to calculate the amounts. And again, calculations on the forms. And this says you don't need to do as much additional information when you apply. I think you do. It doesn't really, there's not that many things that are easier on it, to be honest. So for the new interim final rules that came out last week, along with the Form 3508S, most of it was just to introduce a new form. They're applying a de minimis standard, and that's how they determined this $50,000 threshold. A lot of people were thinking like, oh, we're going to get that $150,000. I know bank business loan managers that we've spoken to, they've kept saying like, oh, we were waiting for Congress to do that $150,000 automatic forgiveness. And then they said, oh, well, the Congress decided now it's 50,000. No, Congress didn't decide it. The SBA did. There is no automatic forgiveness bill that has passed the United States Congress. So this is purely executive law, not congressional law. And then, so let's say that you had a $50,000 PPP loan and you supplied them with $60,000 worth of payroll expenses for this year covered period. Well, what are they supposed to do with the excess costs? Are they going to give you $60,000 in forgiveness, even though your loan was only 50? No, what they're supposed to be doing is they're supposed to be calculating forgiveness up to your PPP loan and then kind of ignoring the rest. So they should take the information that you give them, verify it. Once they hit your threshold, your $50,000 loan, they're supposed to just kind of ignore the rest of the information. They may use it to make sure, if you're saying FTEs, they might use it to calculate that and make sure that there's no reduction there, but they shouldn't be looking at the numbers for costs. Okay, so a couple words of caution. So scams are rampant right now. We've reported on this last 2 weeks, or last two webinars, I should say, and we just want to keep doing it. Melinda got another email today, and it looked real. It looked legitimate from the SBA. It was a spoof, and it was, oh, do you need another PPP loan? Fill out this application here, and we can file it under your social security number and get you guaranteed. That's not the case. That's not how it works. You can't do that. Uh, it doesn't matter. So Melinda's been getting emails at least 5 times a day for the last month. These are not right. These are predatory loans. They're going to hurt you more than any help that they will give you in the long run. We do not recommend them. If you have any questions, you do get one of these and you're like, maybe it's real. Maybe I should look into this. It would really help me. Send it to us. We don't mind. We would rather, spend 15 minutes talking to you about it than hear about in a month about how your identity was stolen because of this. Please use us as a resource. And then also, for those of you who may be in the process of selling your business or your business assets, let's say you agreed upon this in 2019, but then things got delayed because of the PPP. So legally, while you're under a PPP loan, you cannot actually be selling more than 20% of stake in your business or more than 50% of your assets. This was kind of hidden in those loan agreements that you signed with your bank. Basically what it says is if before you do this, you need to have consent from the SBA. Many people did not know about this, did not realize it. I know we have 2 clients that sold their businesses after receiving SBA PPP loans. And now it's kind of like, oh, how are we going to deal with this? The SBA can invalidate the sale, the loan, or they may just require that you pay back the loan on your own. You, as the person that took out the loan and signed, is personally liable if they do this. If you sign and then it's not pretty. So in the eyes of the SBA, the loan is still active until the borrower repays the loan in full. The SBA has forgiven the loan in full, or the SBA has forgiven part and the borrower repays the rest. So it's just one thing to worry about. Don't think like, oh, I sent in my PPP forgiveness application. I'm good, I'm done, I can sell. No, until you have definitive proof that it is done, the loan is still active. You cannot sell without SBA approval. Otherwise, they may invalidate something. They may invalidate the forgiveness, they may invalidate the sale. It's not going to be pretty. It's better to wait. All right, does anybody have any questions? I know I ran through that kind of quick, so I don't mind going back and doing anything if you guys need assistance.
Joe, it's Mark McDonough.
Hi, Mark. How are you today?
Thank you. Back to your matrix. We just so I understand maybe the wording there, but we took out more than 50,000, but we did not reduce FTEs and we did not reduce salaries. Does that say we can use the EZ?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can use the EZ form if you did not reduce wages and salaries, but you took out more than 50,000. It was, so if you took out less than 50,000, you could use the 3508S. But the EZ form, you don't have to do a Schedule A. You don't have to send Schedule A in. That's the important thing. Having an Excel file, what we've been doing is we've been making a sheet in Excel and just kind of tallying everybody up so that, you write down your covered period and you write Jane Smith, August 1st to August 8th, $500. August 8th, 9th to 15th, and then totaling it up that way. It's a little tedious, but it's easier.
Do you see any concerns that they're going to, that you should use the 3508 regular form instead of the EZ? I mean, is there any downside to using the EZ?
I don't think so. I don't think the EZ is that much of a benefit, to be honest, because in the fine print, you still need to have a Schedule A available if they ask for it, but technically you don't need to. It's one of those things like, we might ask you for it, so you should have it, but you don't have to send it in automatically.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Does anybody else have any questions?
Hey, Joe, it's Lysandra.
Hi, Lysandra, how are you?
Hey, good. So I have a client that's actually a partnership, and I do believe they got a PPP loan,
Okay,
but two of the partners, I think they also in like the last 6 months decided to buy two of the partners out. So are you saying that that is not allowed?
they're supposed to have SBA approval for any sales of more than 20%.
Okay.
Now, there may
Oof.
be a difference for that because they're not selling to an outside party.
Okay.
If they were going from 5 partners down to 3 partners,
Mhm.
it's, the assets and everything else are still staying in. Were either of
Right.
those partners, do you know if they were the ones that sold? I'm sorry, any of the partners that sold, do you know if they are the ones that signed off on the loan?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, that is something that you may want to ask. I can send you over an
Okay.
article that kind of summarizes this from
Okay.
Forbes that may be of help.
Okay. Yes, please. I'd appreciate it.
All right, let me write that down. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. I'm going to be here for the next 5 minutes or so. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to send them on over, and I can get those answered for you. Thank you all, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, Joe. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You too.